Hello, hello.
Hi. So we'll just let everyone trickle in. No idea how many people to expect tonight. So welcome to
Yeah.
everyone who does join and who's watching this after the fact. I don't think, do people
Some people
watch
do, yeah.
readings?
People like readings.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can
cool.
be productive on their own end. It's kind of, yeah, like motivation.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, in 2 minutes, we're live on Assassins in April, which is
Yay!
exciting. The Google Drive, I assume I linked it in the description, but it can be found in a bunch of my recent videos, especially the announcement video. And everything is open now, so the form to register all of your hits is also good to go. You can fill in books. I'm assuming no one will finish a book tonight, but maybe people will. It's like a really short assassin book, and you're in over with Maria on the West Coast. We've got tons of
Master
time this
assassin
evening.
level.
Exactly. You can cash in. Maybe I'll wait and I'll do like just a reminder on all of like the details or whatever at like the first break, and then maybe more people will be here then. Yeah, if you're showing up or when you show up, just maybe I'll figure out how to put a banner like let me know what you're reading. I'm on my phone, which is not the plan or which was not the original plan, but I did a spontaneous last minute trip. So fortunately, this is accessible on mobile, but means my phone is going to, or my finger is going to be here for a bit. So I'll just put in, Maria, do you want to let me know, what are you reading? Are you going to start with Assassin's Quest?
I was going to ask you, what are we doing? I don't know. I have both. I've got Assassin's Quest, which is huge. So got that one if we want to start that. And then I have Boy with Fire if we're old enough.
What was the second one?
Boy with Fire.
Oh,
there we go. Ah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you want to do with, like Assassin's Quest is a chunky book to try to do in a week-long read.
I'm like, can we do it? We think we can do it. Ambitious. We'll see.
So it's 41 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking?
It's like 800.
I meant to do math ahead of time.
Yeah, it's like 800 pages. So I was like, we could probably do 100 a day. That's not too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. And then maybe push it a little bit on certain days.
We were doing 80 when we were doing live ship, so I think we can make it happen.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
100 is right. It's 4 chapters again. I think her chapters are pretty equal. It's like 98 is 4 chapters.
That's feasible. Did the banner work?
It reads a lot faster than other authors for me anyway. Yeah, 192 is like, that's another 4 chapters. So.
Okay, cool. Well, I might start with that. I am nervous about Fitz. I feel like this is the beginning of
the end. Or not the end, but the end.
Just his mood. Like, I don't know. I just read the prologue right before we started tonight. And I don't know. This might be where his mood starts to really, really shift a little bit.
This is the one that makes sense. Quite boring because there's a lot of travel. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Although someone commented the other day they loved it just as much. They were like a Hobb super fan. So,
well, I know Reagan from Prue's Project, who I love her recommendations. This was her favorite book of the 3. Like this was when she started giving. I think it was 4 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars for her. And then she was like, "Now I'm a Hobb fan." So I'm like, "It could be potentially really good." Yeah,
that's interesting. Mm-hmm. I don't remember anything about this book except for how it ends. Just I don't know how we get there, but I know where it goes. And then what is your sense? Do you have a guess on, so in the beginning of, or at least in each of these books so far in Farseer, every chapter begins with the little excerpt of Fitz in the future, right? Writing about the world. I think that I have probably guessed to you when I think it is, but do you have a sense of if I hadn't said anything, or yeah.
Ooh, I feel like he must be an old man because
okay.
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's got a lot of books ahead of him. So I always thought it was I don't know if I made this up or if there's a point at which he retires and then comes back from retirement. I might have made that up because people usually don't give the Realm of the Elderling book summaries as they go along, but they give like very little things. And I feel like someone said he retired and then came back. So I'm thinking retired, came back, retired again is really old, which means he lives a long life. So at least there's that fits for you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like I feel like the little things at the beginning are like he like hints at that he's like experiencing certain things. And there's definitely a reason at the end of the first book as to like what that might be or what problems he's experiencing, but then that's sort of possibly changed. And so now I'm just as curious like about what happens here. I don't know. Some words are used in the prologue for this one that I'm curious to see what you'll think.
Well, now I'm starting with this because I want to know the prologue. But I also think it would be kind of fun if we caught up to him midway through the series. Like if maybe the next trilogy at the end of that was what he's writing from, and then we go into new land. That could be fun too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So I don't know. I feel
okay. Well,
the next one is you said right after Live Ship, right? So
I think.
Okay.
I think because how they talk in Live Ship about like the time span of like when certain things that happened in the Six Duchies, they'll like refer back to stuff, and like I think that this is about 15-ish years, or the next one is about 15 years later. Yeah. Which would be his, depending on how long this book takes, his 30. I don't know.
I don't really, I feel like I don't pay attention to ages of characters, which is why things like with Daughter of the Forest, it doesn't bother me if ages are, I'm just like, I make up my own mind.
Yeah.
And then in Don't Our Daughter, I spent the entire time thinking that Jovis was like a 60-year-old man because I thought his name was like a 60-year-old man name. So I think that also influenced my opinions on book 2 a lot. I feel like sometimes my lack of paying attention to ages messes me up, and sometimes it's good. So.
If it's a child, I will like meticulously track references to ages. But like, okay, well they said that. Ooh, okay, Carrie is reading Nevernight. Nice. Let me know if it's like your first time. Have you read Nevernight, Maria?
I'm a little scared of it, to be honest. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard enough that I'm like, I don't think it's going to be for me.
Well, it's one of
a lot of people love it.
Favorite series of all time, and we agree on everything else. So I'm kind of like, maybe we would agree on this too, but I don't know. I don't like gory, kind of grim, darky leaning books, and that sounds like one. So I don't know. Carrie, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah, definitely. I could be sold. I don't say like a hard no to anything.
Yeah.
But I do find that when I watch what is her name? What's the channel? Not Carrie Reads. Cindy, Read with Cindy, or it's just with Cindy now. I feel like when I watch reviews that she does, if she doesn't like a book, she kind of sells me on not liking a book because her reviews. She just, really, I mean, she does what she does well, right?
Yeah.
Like,
have you ever had like a full reversal of that though? Because I once watched an Elliot Brooks review on Greatcoats on Trader's Blade, and I remember she ranted so much about it that I was like, I think I even commented in the review, I was like, it's so good to know that I should just avoid this book at all costs. And then I still picked it up, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah. So that sometimes I'm sold, and then someone else will say something, and I'm still intrigued. So
Same channel, almost didn't read Mask of Mirrors.
Oh yeah,
because she was sort of like
that
about it. Same with Jade City.
Mm-hmm.
She was sort of meh about Jade City, but she said pretty meh things about Mask of Mirrors, and then they talked about it on one of the World Toppers videos that Angela from Literature Science Alliance was in, and the things that she said, I was like, ooh, success. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we get into our first sort of reading chunk here? And if people join in, obviously, let us know what you are reading. I am going to start with Assassin's Quest. I was going to say maybe we chat not as like daily, like maybe we let things go a little bit further this one. So I'm going to start. I'm going to be reading Assassin's Quest. I guess I could have put that in my name, but it's too late.
I might switch on and off. I'm excited for both. That's the problem.
I think it'll be I was like, we could both read Assassin's Quest, but then it'll be hard to be like to not
Yeah.
talk about it at the check-in. But read whatever you'd like. And why don't we do 30 minutes on this one? Might have to relocate if my partner gets back to a different room, but we'll just go with that, and we'll see you guys in 30 minutes.
Awesome.
Okay. Finish your sentence or paragraph that you're on, and then we'll come back. Most people can't hear me. Can people hear me? Okay, yeah. Maybe Maria has it on mute. Or she's just really into what she's reading. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, well, we'll let her finish up. So I did have to relocate. I'm actually on like a spontaneous holiday, and okay, at least Sarah can. Odds are, if Sarah can hear you, I'm sure most people can, as long as it's not on mute or something. But anyway, so I had to relocate. I'm actually in my like hotel bathroom. Oh, you can't see Maria. Okay, I'll text Maria if I can. I'll have to come back to that. I am on a spontaneous holiday in Italy, and my partner just got back to the hotel room from being out, and so now he's going to bed. So I'm like in the hotel bathroom. Anyway, so it looks like so Carrie is reading Nevernight. Sarah from Bright and Bookish is reading Clockwork Boys by T. Kingfisher. And Patrick from the channel Patrick Ryan is reading, just started The Way of Shadows. Oh, cool, by Brent Weeks. Does not take long before you meet an assassin. Okay, perfect. I am really curious to see what you think of that, Patrick, because I have had my eye on it for a little bit, especially as part of like a backlog catalog kind of project. And I hear pretty good things about that. That was Brent Weeks' debut novel. Like I've heard it's a little bit rough around the edges just because it is his debut, but I've heard generally pretty good things about it. So I definitely have my eye on that one. I am reading Assassin's Quest, which Maria and I actually are going to be buddy reading this week as part of like our read through the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. And this is the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy. We actually just finished Royal Assassin maybe a week ago, so we're jumping right into the third one. It's actually really, really chunky though. It's like a really big book to focus on for a week-long readathon, but we'll at least try to get through it. I think it's like 41 chapters or 800 pages, so it's like 5-ish chapters a day. Anyway, so we are started off on the Assassins in April readathon. So everything is live in terms of like you can start reading books now to have them start counting. If you are, I think I said the cutoff would be at 50%. So if you were under 50% or like right up to 50% of a book coming into today, then that's fine. You can count that towards the readathon. And everything is live in terms of like the Google Drive. So I think that I've linked it in the description box. If I haven't, I will do that after the fact, but it's also been linked in all of my recent video description boxes as well. And there's a Google Drive with like an image that has all of the rules and details for the readathon, as well as the Google form where you can fill in whenever you finish a book to register your hits. So make sure to do that when you finish a book. I'll maybe give like a little bit of a buffer time, like maybe a couple or a few hours. I'll decide that later through the week and announce it in the community tab. Yeah, so that is the Assassin. I'm reading Assassin's Quest. I think Maria was deciding between Assassin's Quest and what's it called? Boy with Fire, which is an indie or a self-pub. I'm just now noticing that from my screen, Maria looks completely in the exact same spot. So maybe something's going on with her StreamYard that has happened to her in the past. So if you can't see Maria, that is probably why she was joining me tonight. Yeah, please hang out in the bathroom, Carrie. Yeah, it's at least it's a decent bathroom, and I was able to fit the like chair that I was sitting on in here. I legit thought that I was going to be just like sitting on the floor. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm actually really excited to see what people read this week. Like people have been commenting on videos for a while, the last couple videos or back on the original videos and the assassin recommendation one, just describing sort of like what people have or planning. So I've seen The Unbroken by Larkson, I want to say. I've seen quite a few people, I'm not sure for the author name there, but I've seen quite a few people mention that one. I have also heard Kristen from Kristen's Crave Book is reading I think like a mystery suspense thriller, which is really cool. So it'll be interesting to see what people pick up this week. And Carrie was reading Nevernight, and yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting week. I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. I have a couple books that I'm going to be juggling. I think like Assassin's Quest is definitely my priority read. I think, especially obviously I have to read 5 chapters a day to get that finished in time. But I also have Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker taken out from the library. And if I'm in an audio mood, I have Skull Sworn by Brian Staveley. So I don't in any capacity think I will finish all 3 books this week. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, oh yeah, The Unbroken by C.L. Clark. Okay, I knew there were C's and L's. Larkson. That's how my brain works. If you can imagine how I got there. Oh, there's a private message from Maria. Yep, computer frozen. She's going to restart. Okay, cool. So maybe Maria will join in sometime during the next reading sprint. So I think maybe we will just get back to reading if everyone's cool with that. And we'll do another 30 minutes. If anyone wants to like join in on a reading sprint, I haven't planned out the rest of the reading sprint for the rest of the week, but Maria and I think like 90% sure are going to be finishing off the readathon on the last Saturday, April 23rd with another reading sprint. And I think that one will be earlier in the day, so maybe like early morning West Coast time and sort of early afternoon for me. Oh, I think she's back.
Hello. So I think reading sprints are cursed. This happened on Sarah's. And I didn't have a timer going, so I wasn't even paying attention to anything. Sorry.
I didn't even notice it ever. I was like, when I came back on, I was like, okay, like we'll do it on you. Just like kept reading. I was like, maybe she's really into what she's reading. And then Sarah was like, I can't. I was like, can everyone hear me? And Sarah unfortunately was like, yes, I can hear you, but I can't see Maria. And then I realized that your image was like completely motionless.
I was really interested in what I was reading, but yeah, I just internet technical difficulties.
What did you end up? When did you start reading?
I did read Assassin's Quest. I got like almost 30 pages in.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think
I'm enjoying it. It's good.
I already have things that I want to ask you about, but I don't want to spoil anything.
I was like, I'll need to text you about that because there's little things that, yeah, we can't spoil.
Was it a comment about
Hi, Sarah.
Something in someone's mind?
The thing with Hobbit, she mentions like little things, and I know we read those books not that long ago, but I feel like I've already am like, wait, who is she referring to in this? Or like little things where, there's a few where I'm going to be like, what was this reference?
Actually, and Patrick just recently read Assassin's Quest as well. So like I messaged him throughout the week, like, oh my God.
Do you like it?
I'm not sure. Patrick, let us know what you say if you're still on. Let us know what you thought of Assassin's Quest. I definitely liked Royal Assassin more than Farseer. Like I think for the first one is decent. I think it's a good entry point, but it's also like just like dipping your toes into the world. There's actually something that's come up. It's not spoilery at all, I don't think. But basically, I've noticed when she mentions, because we read live, I mean, I have read these before, but we read Live Ship last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, she wrote those afterwards, but the way that she talks about where certain things are located in the world, I think that she changed
I noticed a few things like that. Yeah. It
Because,
almost
like, the
felt like she
map,
was beginning to brainstorm Live Ship with certain things. Yeah.
yeah. There was the comment in the little tidbit at the beginning of the first
Mm-hmm.
chapter was
Yeah.
like about slaving. I was like,
I was like,
no.
yeah, I had the same thought. I don't know if that's what I was like, I think that's not what they're known for. They're known for the opposite, but yeah.
Yeah. So it could either just be like Fitz doesn't know any better.
I think she used
There's
that
a
as like her
possibility.
get out of jail free card. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But then also just when she talks about the location, she'll sometimes refer to things when she talks about the rain wilds, like beyond the
The
mountains.
mountains. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and I'm
I
like,
don't think
that doesn't
didn't
make sense with
map-wise.
where the map
Mm-mm.
exactly, yeah, and the river, and
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So it's
I had the
either
same
yeah,
thought.
maybe she just hadn't like conceived of the full world and how everything would piece together yet.
We are doing it reverse, which is weird. So
yeah, I mean, I think there are some things that would be improved about Live Ship, having first read Farseer, but I also think Live Ship is a little bit more, it's going to please more people. I think Live Ship pleases more readers.
Have continued on if I just read Farseer. As much as I like it. No, I don't know, because I was trying to figure out which one I liked more. And I think that I like that, like, this is more cozy in my style of politics. I love political fantasy, so Farseer is like perfect in terms of that. But I feel like they're very middle of the road books, and I would have read the trilogy and been like, I don't know if I feel like that invested to continue on. Whereas Live Ship, I had a lot of love-hate moments, but I do feel like, I think overall it was a better written series, and I was somewhat, I don't know if I was more invested, but it like intrigued me more, and there I had a lot more emotions associated with it.
Yeah. When there was just so many more storylines, like I hear this a lot with this one, is that like you have to care about Fitz.
Yeah.
Right? And like,
which I actually thought this would be stronger for me because of that, because I don't like multi-POV stories that much.
Interesting.
So yeah, I usually hate or like get annoyed by multi-POV because I'm always like interested in one or two of them, and then I want to skip ahead chapters to get to the others. When I just read Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, it was so annoying. There was like 4 parts. Books 1, it was like part 1, 2, 3, 4, and part 1 is like 2 characters, part 2 is 2 characters, and they switch. And so part 1 and part 3 had like character I hated, and part 2 and part 4 I think had a character I liked, and I just kept wanting to skip an entire giant section.
That was like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So I'm looking.
Sometimes you would turn.
Yeah, a lot. Sarah's reading T. Kingfisher, right? Still, which I need to. That's on my list to try.
Yeah.
And then Carrie was reading Nevernight.
Yeah, and Patrick's reading The Way of Shadows. I had mentioned The Unbroken, and Sarah corrected me on the off.
Is that one's Brent Weeks, right?
Twice. Way of Shadows, yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And it was his debut.
I really want to read Black Present by him, but I'm also scared because it's so controversial.
Yeah. A friend of mine really likes it, but then he has very strong opinions about the ending of the.
I also hear a lot of people didn't like the ending, so I think I was going to at least try it to see where I fell, and now I'm less certain because a lot of people hated the ending.
Yeah.
Which is tough.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should comment. No, I'm good. Do you want to jump back into it? We're at
sure.
10 to 1. Okay.
Hope I don't disappear this time.
You do just restart again, jump back in. Yes, Carrie, you do have to start Live Ship phase. Have you read Farseer?
What did you think of Farseer?
I do think you should read it first.
Yeah, don't listen to our backwards order.
Like I had read these before, but I always blame Kobo because when I first read Hob, I was reading it on like my ebook, like Kobo reader or whatever. And when you get to the end of the book, I don't know if Kindle does this, but in Kobo
tells you
it's
the
like,
next one.
You're almost done. You should pick up this one next. And it led me straight from Farseer into Tommy Man. So I totally skipped Live Ship. And
Did it skip the Dragon Quartet too, like with Rainwild Chronicles?
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't keep reading Fits in the Pool because I think I was
traumatized.
pretty poor mental state at that point. I think I actually just recently saw an Assassin's Quest review as well of someone saying like, if you were reading this when they were coming out and you didn't know that she was like planning this whole big thing, you maybe wouldn't have felt so
happy with the ending.
Tied ribbon on everything.
Yeah. But sometimes even on Goodreads, sometimes I will fully go into a book thinking it's a standalone because it has no series title in the Goodreads page. Yeah. And then I get to the end and I'm like, oh, this is a cliffhanger. And then I'm annoyed because I would have waited to pick it up until the next book was out. And so, yeah, sometimes even within that, it's hard to tell.
Yes, finish Farseer Pickle. Yeah, you definitely have to pick up Live Ships. Honestly, like, I really, really loved those books. Like, the third one was a difficult read.
The first two,
I don't know,
are really good. I was
the third one. I'm caught up in that.
I'm bad at the third book. The third book makes you
discussions, though.
Yeah, it just kind of is all pain. It's very hard book.
I remember being surprised at how hopeful the ending of the first book was. Because the only thing that I remembered about having read Hob was just how traumatized.
Despair. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad. And like, I don't think it's like traumatizing. Hi.
You gonna say hi, Fox?
Oh my gosh, I love scruffy dogs so much.
He's a terrier. And he has decided, here, buddy, go that way. No, do not unplug my computer, swear to God. He thinks it's dinner time. Which it's not.
From what I can remember, it's not that there's anything particularly horrifying. Like, I don't remember. But I just, Fitz's state of mind, it's like he tends to be a little more
depressing.
I
feel like they say that's Fitz's state of mind.
Melancholy.
I have a new theory that is Robin Hobb's state of mind, which maybe not in real life, but at least in writing, because she does have, I think the one big issue I have with her is that it's a very despair, almost not like moral of the story, but I feel like there isn't much hope that like life is better. There isn't much optimism. And I get that both in Farseer and in Live Ship. And I guess people must like it because it's, I guess, realistic, but I like a little hope. I like hope in my escapism. Yeah. But I meant to ask, there's a little novella that falls within, I think it falls between Farseer and Live Ship. So I don't know if Carrie's read it, but Piebald Prince, have you heard of that one?
I have.
Yeah. So we need to figure out if we're reading that too.
Okay.
I think this is where it falls. So if anyone knows, tell us.
Okay. I had heard that it was unrelated, I thought.
I thought it was really important to read. I thought that's what I heard. But I think everyone said after Farseer.
Let's look into that then. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think they said between Farseer and Live Ship, which is why I'm like, I wonder if Carrie got past that point.
I don't know.
I'll have to Google.
Yeah. Why is despair realistic?
Thank you, Sarah. I think it's supposed to be like the grittiness of life, but I agree completely. If you've experienced hope and joy, 100%.
Well, like, I don't want to without saying like actual spoilers or like with Live Ship. It's like it's not a despairing ending, but it's certainly realistic in like the presentation of certain people or like.
Sorry,
I just felt like it wasn't despairing, but it was like, yeah, things aren't always super wrapped up perfectly with no harm done to anyone. Like it was like it made me feel like, yeah, this is real life in the sense of like, yeah, I can't say it without spoilers, just that it felt complicated. Like life is complicated. Things can still be good. It wasn't the most hopeless ending, but it also wasn't overly. No, I felt like things were on the up at the end of that series.
The way I see it, so it's a series that has a lot of trigger warnings, and I won't say which trigger warnings, but it has a lot of trigger warnings, and most of them happen in book 3, so you kind of forget to expect them. And I think the realism argument is that like in life, bad things happen for no reason. They just do. There is no explanation. But I like reading books where if we're going to have a trigger warning that's like one of those really heavy, dark themes, and I'm going to have to read about it and live through that with the characters, I would rather they do it for something. Like I would rather then go through that emotional healing with the character, or go through kind of the like, or at least be more like, I would rather have it affect the story, affect the character, affect things in a more kind of meaningful way. And for me personally, I felt like Hobb kind of was like, this awful thing happened because life is that way. Moving on. And she didn't like stay with that enough for me. I wanted her to work through it more.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
Is in all things, or like, are you, so I'll say I've heard about like Daughter of the Forest, which Maria just read, which is very exciting for me personally.
That honestly, I was reading it and I almost feel like it compares to Hobb in a way of like, it did the things right that I think Hobb didn't do for me.
Interesting, because I mean, I haven't heard Daughter of the Forest used as a negative example of this, but I have heard that particular thing being used, like that people don't like it used in a way that's like, so that she can overcome it, like in other books. Like,
and it's not an overcome it.
Like that, and
it's like the emotion journey.
Like, yeah, that's how I feel about Daughter of the Forest, where it's like it feels like not going to make sense. Like it's realistic for the situation, and I think that the things that fall out from that are realistic responses. I kind of felt the same about Hobbs. It was more just like, yeah, you're right. Like that, it was more like this happened because stuff happens like this.
Yeah, I guess in general, she doesn't dig into like emotional enough for me. I feel like we get like the skimming of the emotions, in my opinion. We get a lot of sad things. So like oftentimes Chris and I are like, this is so awful and stressful and sad, but we don't get a lot of like living with that through the characters. It's a bit of a weird dynamic. And then Greatcoats, which I know you're kind of starting and going into the series with, I feel like they also do the trigger warnings that they do differently. I think they also do a better job of like how I want them done, which for me just oftentimes is like, I like emotional journeys. I'm a character driven reader. So I want to see the characters, not like, I want to see them process things, because I feel like that to me helps me process things in real life, whether or not I'm like it's a related situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Carrie, check the trigger warnings. There's some heavy ones in Live Ship.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if she meant that for the novella. Or
that there was a novella. Yeah,
I wasn't sure. Yeah.
That I also don't know for sure, but I think it falls in here.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that, just real quick before, and then we'll jump back into another. There was something that you said when we were reading the last one about like whether or not you thought Fitz was like has depression. And I was like, I bet that he does. Which is something that like whenever I read it, I was always just like, it's just so like he just like jumps to being melancholy like really quickly. And like as someone who like was depressed when I first read this book, like, and that like it absolutely affected my mindset. In that, like I didn't even see that. It was just like I was like, oh, he has such a hard life, and he like doesn't spring back from things. Because there's things in Royal Assassin where like things are not terrible, and he jumps really quickly to a little bit more of a morose, melancholy perception. And I wonder if
it's not as blatant
like
representation. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like, I don't think it's ever made clear, because even I'm kind of like, is it? It feels like it, but whereas in others, like I know Stormlight Archive, it feels very like it feels like representation.
Okay.
And you almost like you can tell that that's what they're going through.
Okay.
With Fitz, I'm just like, I assume because it feels like it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Carrie says she didn't see that scene coming when she read Daughter of the Forest. That's fair. That's one of those things that I read like so long ago originally that I don't remember. I remember certain things shocking me. I don't remember what my original response to that one is, but I have a harder time reading that scene now. Never happened to me before, but like I have a harder time reading that scene now than I did, I think, when I was a young teenager first reading it, which is interesting. But there's just the phrase, her telling herself that story over and over again it really gets me every time now.
Yeah, it was a hard scene to read.
Yeah.
I wonder, how do you all, and maybe we can come back to this on the next one, but I kind of want to know how people feel about trigger warnings, because it's like the downside of them is you do know things going in. So like I was fully aware of that scene and almost like was not quite waiting for it to happen, but I kind of waiting for it to happen. Yeah. Say with you with Great Goods.
That's a great. Yeah. I knew that there was a questionable scene.
Yeah. But then on the other hand,
I feel like I hesitate to say what trigger warnings are because I don't want to spoil things, but I also want.
But then again, if someone like actually gets really triggered, you don't want to hurt by any way, cause anyone, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I lean more in the direction of, I think that I'd rather give trigger warnings and spoil it for people who won't be affected than not give trigger warnings to someone who would be really affected. But I also have a hard time because I don't personally, like Chris and I were talking about how we only really care about like eye gore for trigger warnings. So I forget about them. Sometimes I'll summarize a book and I'll forget that there was a trigger warning in it that I should have mentioned. So it's something where it's like, I feel like I'm not the best at being always consistent with them.
Yeah.
I think you can
saying she always checks. See, I think if there's a book, I'm more likely to say that when I'm talking about a book. I'm like, there's some stuff here, maybe check out the trigger warnings. Like I'm more likely to say that than to say what they are, just because I'm not sure if I want to share them. And I also sometimes think that I probably forget them, or that like because I'm not aware of like certain things. Like I would never think to say like death of an animal in certain books, but like I know that people do include that on trigger warnings. But like I think if I was like talking like a wrap up, like I would probably forget to say that.
Yeah. I always Google like does the dog die.com when I'm reading a book with an animal. But also like with Sarah's comment, I think I forgot to say that trigger warning for the first book of Lady Trent. So it's like you kind of
right, yeah.
And then I remember that was, something that really affected Sarah. So yeah, I wish I was more consistent with it. There's some things that I expect. Yeah. See, I almost would rather have trigger warnings for gore because that's the one that like I don't do as well with. But I'm also not that triggered by it, so I'm fine. It's more, I just don't like really specific, detailed scenes.
Yeah.
I think there's a way, by the way, for you to pop up comments on the screen. I don't know if I have that power. Or if your phone does.
I don't think my phone does. That's the unfortunate. I did check that earlier. I can star it, but I can't. I do know that I have that ability on the laptop.
On the computer.
I'm not seeing it here, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, apparently I just have to touch it. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into another readings thing here.
Knew about them, so it's not something I check. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been on the online book community for that long. So I don't know if this was something I would never have known that was a thing beforehand that you could like check somewhere.
So some authors have started like including it even, which I think is I like that approach. I really like because then it's the author presenting it.
Little Thieves had it at the beginning of the book, and A Course of Dragons has it, I think, on her website. Those are the ones I know off the top of my head. Okay, let's jump into the reading.
Okay.
We'll do another 30 minutes, and then like maybe a brief chat, and then another 30, and then I'll probably have to go to bed.
Okay, sounds good. Since we're not
I've
popping
heard
a
that about
timer.
Storygraph. Yeah.
Oh, I need to start using Storygraph.
Same.
Since we're not putting a timer on the screen, because I also don't know how to do that from a phone, should we just come back at like what, 37 or 40?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect.
Let's say
40?
yes.
Okay.
Let's say 40. Okay. I just finished the chapter, so it's a good stopping point for me.
And I was scared that I wouldn't be here yet, so yay.
Pardon?
I was scared my connection would die again, so
Oh,
it was
jump
one
back in.
a little earlier. I just laughed so much at one scene when they called Fitz out for the things that we called about in book 2 at the end. And I'll send it to you in detail, the like specific scene. But when
What chapter?
I am, have I reached?
You already passed me?
No, definitely not. I am like a few pages from chapter 3. Where are you?
I did chapter 1. How fast of a reader are you?
Wait, really?
Oh my god.
48. Oh gosh, I thought this would expose me for reading really slow. Okay.
No, I'm clearly a much slower reader.
Okay, well in that case, there's a great scene coming up where they call Fitz up for the thing that we called him out for, and I thought it was the most hilarious thing.
Good timing.
So you have that to look forward to. Hello, Cass is here. Hi, Cass.
Oh, nice.
Cass, did you decide to read or to join the Assassins in April readathon, or are you reading assassin books? And if Sarah and Carrie are still around, tell us where you got to.
I'll get rid of this banner.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, slump is hard. Month-long readathons are like intense. I feel like it's so hard to pace yourself, especially with like on like the team-based ones where like some people are so gung-ho at the beginning and then I don't know. And then you feel bad like for not submitting books right away.
So.
Your team what, sorry?
My team's losing at the moment, I guess. Team
Is
Bale
it?
for Around the Fun.
I
Yeah.
haven't been keeping track of the scores. I'm very out of touch.
He's not giving out like full rankings, so I don't know where Serene's at for you, but I'm the opposite. This month I've only read. I have not really edited videos. I'm behind on watching everyone's videos. I bought supplies to start a like crochet blanket and I haven't touched that. I've only read. So I'm a little worried I'm gonna slump next month. But it's been a great reading month so far. I've read already as much as I would read in like a month in total. So
yeah, actually that's like Olympics readathon. I did really well all through the month, but then I slumped really hard afterwards.
That's what I'm gonna try and avoid doing. So I'm trying to like not do a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, some. Can you still pop those on the screen?
Yeah.
Yay. Nice.
And Carrie made it to chapter 6
Does
of
that
Nevernight.
did Clockwork Boys have? Is that an assassin book? I think that was one, right?
I remember when Sarah was describing it in their video, it sounded like that was the case. It sounded like there was that. It sounded, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but it sounded like it was sort of a historical fiction fantasy type of thing.
That sounds good.
I could be mixing it up with something else that you were talking about, though.
Carrie's a fast reader, or those are shortish chapters.
Yeah. I don't think I have never done like a 24 or 48 hour readathon. Like I have on my own, just like read for 24 hours for sure. But I have never done like a really.
I've never done one where I stayed up all night. I'm not good without sleep. So I did that whole weekend, but I didn't do the no sleep thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think the last time that I actually like a real all-nighter. It does happen occasionally, but I don't really have it in me anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, I think even books that I'm really like desperate to know the end of, I'm very aware that if I get like 4 hours sleep, I won't function. That might be an adulting thing. But yeah.
You know what? The last time that I mean, like, I feel like I did for normal people, and I honestly think I did First Run of Flash when I discovered that at some point in the first lockdown, whenever
Mhm.
that was, 2020. I
There's
remember it kept getting like
binge worthy.
brighter and brighter.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. As a kid, I stayed up and binge read Harry Potter through the night. And then I think Dave Abad came close. I think Ember of Gold was I pulled a pretty late night one. But
Mm.
other than that,
I think lately I kind of max out around 3 in the morning. Around 3 in the morning, I like really start being like, you should really go to bed.
what time do you wake up? Because I'm always messaging you at like yeah, you're like 2, 3 a.m. and I feel like your sleep schedule.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But also I don't really work mornings. Like
Yeah, you have that. That
I only
helps.
have a couple morning shifts, so yeah. Oh, excuse me. Um, yeah. But too, like with if it's 3 in the morning, I'm like I've been reading under my covers
Mm,
hours at that point because my partner does work normal hours. So like you start getting like sore and uncomfortable. So it's
yeah,
just
hunched over. My problem is that if I'm in bed, I like start falling asleep. So I need to be somewhere not in bed to read in the evenings past midnight.
that's
Yeah,
so
same.
see, I feel like I need to read in order to fall asleep. Like I have almost conditioned myself to not
Mhm.
be able to fall asleep without reading anymore. And this is like what it was like when I was young. And like
Mhm.
I kind of trained myself out of it a little bit in university when I didn't let myself read
It's like your
for
wind down.
basically, yeah. But now like I almost can't. I can if I'm like really, really tired, but I sort of have like convinced myself that I can't sleep without reading. But then I also have trouble stopping.
Do
And
you
it's
ever
really
audiobook when falling asleep or going to bed? Okay, because that would be harder, just like listening. You're always physically reading. Okay, that makes more
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Um, and two, like it almost always has to be on my phone or um,
Ooh. Is that a new book?
ebook.
Have I missed this? Did she come out with a new book?
I haven't heard of this.
Yeah. Is this a new like because I know
Who's
she had Uprooted and then Spinning Silver. Huh.
and then the new Deadly Education is following
Yes.
that series.
Yeah, and then that series. I've never heard of. Although that series is so different that I always forget that that's her. Oh no, it's Temeraire. Oh, okay. I do know that series.
Oh, I forgot about Temeraire.
Women's novel. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really want to read that book, that series. But I only know of people who read like the first book. So is it good? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, I think Taylor has read more than the first book. I'm pretty sure.
Does she like them?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
feel like Taylor's from based on how similar you are. I feel like I have pretty similar taste to Taylor too.
Yeah, we'll have to all
Yeah.
virtually have a get together at some point.
Yeah.
I think she's up for doing a reading sprint this week,
Um,
actually.
that would be fun.
I've also like this is like putting the cart before the horse. Like I've also sort of talked her into doing a podcast because when
You,
I move, we're like really
you
really upset about my move
I
because we
know.
won't be able to go for like huge long book walks anymore or like
You do book walks. That's so
yeah.
cute. You have the best friendship. Oh.
Taylor and I met like in Danish class actually, like in Danish language school. Um, and then I think like I was part of this thing called Spouse Community, which was like just like a social community for people who had specifically like followed their partners to Denmark. So like you weren't working or like you specifically came there for that. And
Good.
I guess I like could have talked her and a couple of the other girls in my Danish class into coming to a couple of these events. And then
Mhm.
I think her and I got coffee one time and we like casually started talking about reading and then we had like this like 3.5 4 hour
Yeah.
coffee date and like walking around town like just talking about books. It was honestly amazing.
Are you gonna be super far from her?
It's like 3.5 hours by train or ferry from
Enough,
where
yeah.
we currently live to Copenhagen. So it's like her in-laws are in Copenhagen and she has other friends in Copenhagen as well. So like she'll still come, but it won't be like
Yeah.
we do like walks where we talk about
Yeah.
actually a really and we have like coffee dates where we like sit and do work and then like every now and then like chat and then like sit and do
Kind of
work.
like productive sprints, love it.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cute.
But we had this really funny we were out walking one time. I forget, I think it was after A Court of Silver Flames came out. And we had this like big long walk and the joke in Denmark as well is that like you can always tell if it's like North Americans because we speak really loud publicly. And so like
Mm.
we go on these walks and like we're talking really loud, everyone can hear us. And like
All the love.
this older lady was walking a little bit in front of us and Chiller goes like, my problem with the mating bond lady like fully like stops and looks back at us. And so we were like, oh my god, that's like it's a book thing. And then we like started explaining. She's like, oh no, I didn't even hear that. I was just wondering like I was trying to catch like what language you were speaking or whatever. And so then we were like, it's a book thing, it's embarrassing.
That's
We
so
like tried to explain it. It was horrible.
that lady was either really interested or really traumatized.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah also reads before going to bed.
That's what I ideally would like because that's when I have the most time to read. But every time lately, I get in bed and it's like 10, and I usually go to bed at 11:30. But if I start reading at 10, I'm in bed at 10:15. I just
Okay. Yeah, I want to be able to fall asleep a little bit more quickly. But I also want to this is a little bit of a problem too with my partner. Like he stays in like the living room until he wants to go to sleep. Whereas I
Mhm.
want to lie down and read casually and like set like the atmosphere of like drowsy and like
That's why we got the blankets. Yeah.
so it just turns into me reading under the blanket. Just not a good. Ooh, Lady Chamera read along.
Ooh, that'd
I
be
don't
fun.
know if you will like the colonial elements in that
True,
series,
yeah. More ranting,
Sarah.
Sarah.
I've heard it's not addressed at all.
More
Like that
ranting
it's just
less
like
about dragons and more ranting from Sarah about how historically inaccurate something is. Or maybe it would be more historically accurate.
Chaos reads that she's just there for the dragon. And I'm assuming that's like the dragon's handler.
I think that's the bond.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think Sarah is the dragon and Lawrence is the human. Yeah.
cool.
I have yet to find like I'm a big fan of Aragon, which I know not everyone is, but I love that series. And I have yet to find a series that gives me that same like nostalgic connection of a dragon and a human bonding. And I've heard that this series will give it to me. So
I've
that's my
heard the dragon is adorable.
yeah, like a
That's
puppy.
all I've heard.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, when does the new Aurelian cycle book? Is it August?
August. Kristen, it comes out on the day that my best friend's wedding celebration is, which I
Oh
know. And the ironic thing is my best friend was like, "Oh, so my celebration is on this date on August 9th," and then told me it was a Tuesday, and I jokingly was like, "Oh, well, let's hope no good books come out that day, because that's big publication day." And then it was the day of the biggest release for me that I've been anticipating for years.
no.
And it's in the middle of nowhere in Canada. We're gonna be in Quebec, but it's in, like,
Oh,
the middle of nowhere. It's Saint Croix, Quebec. Have you heard of that place? Like, middle of
no.
nowhere, haunted home, ancestral home, apparently, like, supposed to be really
Cool.
lakes, but there will be no way to get this book that I'm desperate to get to, and also it'd be rude probably on the day of the wedding to be so I'm like, I'll get over it.
Especially depending on how long you're going to be there. It's almost
Yeah,
like if you pre-order it, it's just going to be like sitting at home waiting for
yeah.
you, like days to get to it.
But at least hopefully it'll arrive because the second book, the Flamefall, I ordered that from, I think it was like the author's special bookstore because you could get it signed or something
Mm,
like that. And it came a month and a half late, so I ended up buying a different copy, but I waited like 2 weeks to buy another copy because again, thought this one would come. So I just
yeah,
maybe this one will actually arrive on time. That would be good.
yeah. Uh, Sarah and Chaos Reads are talking about just like how
9.
long the series is. So it's like 9 or 10 books, but they're short books. So also like Lady Trent.
It does seem kind of like a natural progression from Lady Trent. That'd
I
be
feel like I had this video idea, but I never ended up doing it because I feel like I hadn't read all of the books, and like I guess I could like that would be the video, right? Is that I'd read them, but it was like blank but with dragons.
Ooh,
There's so many of those books. Like
yes,
it's Victorian England, but
but
with dragons. Or like Temeraires, like it's the Napoleon Wars, but
drag
with dragons. And like even Flamefall or the Aurelian Cycle is like the Russian Revolution, basically, but with dragons. I don't know. There's a bunch. I have a list somewhere, but I'd have to read them all. I guess I could
um,
do that.
Sarah, your comment about I think that's where I fly into, and then I think she's gonna pick me up from the airport and drive me to the middle of nowhere.
Which is in
Like,
the middle of nowhere.
I have been reliably informed it is in the middle of nowhere because I can't fly into it, and apparently there's, like, barely Wi-Fi, so I'm assuming it's not like a normal there's, like, a
Hmm.
little village that you can drive down and get groceries from.
A friend of mine did a French exchange in Gatineau, I think, which is like pretty far north. I think that they like didn't let her speak. I think she had like penalties and stuff for speaking English. But the whole point was to like immerse, right?
Mhm.
Which makes sense.
Interesting, yeah. I've only ever been to Vancouver, so
Agreed on this one. That makes sense. So you're in the West Coast. So you've been to Vancouver. See, I've
well,
never done the West Coast at all in Canada. I've always only ever done the East Coast.
I wanna see Toronto really badly, and then I am excited to see Quebec because my best friend's from there.
Toronto's okay.
I've all the TV shows I know of and love film in Toronto, so I think that's the only reason.
Like
Suits, I used to be obsessed with.
it's yeah,
Yeah, and then there were other ones that were filmed there.
it's quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Um, I too am. Those books have made the Aurelian Cycle that we're talking about has made that those books so emotional, and I'm like certain that the next book is going to destroy me.
I
Um,
yeah, I, like, have trust in her,
I
but
think she'll land it, but I think I'll be destroyed.
I feel like
Like,
she could go I feel like she might not go the, like, neat happy ending that I want her to go down. I want a neat happy ending because I like happy endings, but I feel like that's not where we're gonna get, and it is gonna be great, and I'm gonna love it, and I'm gonna think there's no way better to have ended it, I'm sure, because she's one of the few authors, like I said, that I trust, but it's gonna be brutal.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah. I think
Toronto's not on my list anymore, sorry. Everyone.
I would kind of say the same. I don't know. It just depends on what kind of experience you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Out of like travel, right? Like, I don't know. Toronto's fine, but I would rather see like Banff and mountains in the West Coast.
Noted. Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying about Aurelian?
No, just like yeah, like I trust that she will end it. Like that I will be satisfied, but I don't feel certain that I will be happy, I guess. It's
Yes.
the yeah, 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 yeah. That is I don't know what I'm gonna do with that too. Like you bought, obviously I think I've seen you have the original cover for the first book on your shelves,
I
right?
do,
Did
and I
you
love it. I'm sad I don't like the new cover changes that they did. I'm sad about
I
them.
don't either.
It's one
I
of
don't
my
either.
original is, like, one of my favorite there's faces in the wings, right? Does everyone knows that?
Yeah.
Ah, I think it's one of the best covers I've ever seen in my life, and I
Do you
just
think that it's like young? Do you think that they tried to age up the covers?
I think
Like I
the new ones look younger to me.
mm. Did you
More
watch the
minimalistic.
interview that she did with? Elliot Brooks,
Yes. Yeah.
where she talked about like they came to her and were like, we think we need to rebrand it, sort of like repackage
Yeah.
it.
Which I do feel like happens a lot, and I'm glad they're still doing hardcovers, so, like, at least yeah. I get that
But I
they
thought they
changed the
didn't.
first paperback so that you can get matching.
What's right?
Like, they changed the first paperback so you can get matching, but they still kept hardcovers, which is like, sometimes I think YA's less so doesn't do hardcovers. I'm now bitter about a lot of adult series that don't do hardcovers. So anytime hardcovers are available, I'm happy. But I am, yeah, they don't match and it's a little sad.
Yeah,
I don't do you think they feel more adult? Like more aged up?
I can't tell. I feel like the first cover looks a little bit young, but I also think it's really cool. But I maybe think that like maybe it doesn't stand out. But I think that the new ones, like the graphics, is all sort of like it's a little bit too busy.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
I would have picked up I mean, I did pick up Fireborn based on that. No, I actually had heard a review of it, but I the first one draws my attention more, so I'm, like, staring at it. Um,
mm,
it is YA, but a lot of people that like adult, I feel like it's a good crossover.
yeah, I actually think it's solid. Like I would,
Mhm.
I've tried to get my nephew to read this, who is like 10, and I think that he would have a good time with it. But I think that there is so much more there, like a Disney movie, but like even more that like adults will also appreciate. Like a lot, Alan from Libraries of
Mhm.
Alexandria, he liked it, and
He
he
doesn't
does
read
not
it either.
even
Yeah.
read any YA. And I think he even said like, what makes this YA? The fact that they're teens, like, but like it is so political and not in like a political schemy way, more of like this is what you would have to consider. Like these are the problems that would arise in a government that's like early
Post-revolution.
on after a revolution. Yeah,
It's so fascinating. Yeah, she does such a good job with
very
it,
good.
and
Yeah.
I love the complexity of the different I think she's also just done an amazing job with the different POVs that she's chosen. Like, there's 2 in the first book, and the way their backgrounds and where they come to it, to the kind of to their opinions on the political scheme, like, I guess, political plot is so interesting because of their background, and then she does that again in book 2 where she introduces new POVs that are just so like, sometimes when you introduce a new POV, I'm annoyed, but in this case, they're so masterfully giving you new
Mm.
perspectives. It's, like, such a good series of perspectives and politics and nuance. So good.
I actually didn't like the introduction of the new character, or at least it felt like he was that it was just there in order to show us that the place where that person was.
Mhm.
Not spoilers.
Oh.
It felt like it was just sort of like giving us a new view of something else,
Mhm.
or like of this new place. And it wasn't really like, even though like there were definitely like tough things that were talked about from that perspective, I didn't feel like the person care like personality came through until at least over halfway. That's when I started to care a little
Mm.
bit more. But at the beginning, I just felt like it was more like a little bit of a perspective into, yeah.
Interesting. I saw it as a way for us to see that I'm, like, trying so hard to be vague about this. I liked the way that that new perspective in book 2, the contrast of it with the 2 perspectives and the location of our original characters, and kind of how I think that I would have condemned them and their opinions or where they were at a bit more in book 2 if I hadn't had the contrast of, like, "Oh, actually, there's bad and evil in what's happening where they are, but there's more in other versions." Is that vague enough? I hope that's vague enough.
Yes, I think that that's what I think that I almost that that's what I didn't like about it. That it was like
Yeah.
so obviously being like, but look, it's worse over here. Like these are the yeah, like, but
Yeah.
it was good to see the reality of that. Like it wasn't romanticized
Yeah.
through familial, but it also wasn't like villainized through a victim's perspective. It was like this is the reality. And I think that because it was so like just blank, this is what it's like, that his actual personality didn't really come through until a significant chunk in.
As a character, I liked that 3rd POV less, but in terms of,
Yeah,
like, what it gave us, I thought it
what
was
it
really
gave.
but yeah, I see that.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 2:05 or like
Mhm.
2:03. So let's do like, do you want to do like 20-ish more minutes and then
Yeah,
we'll sort of like make sure that we wrap up by like the half past sort of thing?
sounds good.
We'll come back at like, yeah, we'll come back at like the 20. Does that make sense? And then like 10 minutes to chat at the end?
Yeah,
Or 5.
works for me.
Okay, cool. Big argument.
I don't know what people are saying about this book because so far I've enjoyed these like 60 pages more than the first two books in entirely. I feel like I don't know. I I'm into it. I'm really enjoying everything that's happening. I found it funnier, more emotional, more interesting.
It's definitely emotional.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I hate these like stiff bindings. My hand has been cramping already from the
Is
like.
that the UK one?
Yeah, it's like trying to keep that open. Once you get to the middle, it's easier, but it's so annoying.
Yeah. I find I always do like one of these too, and I'm like trying to like slide and look
You
through
don't.
because I don't want to like,
Uh,
yeah, I avoid that a lot.
ugh.
I don't know. I feel like I'm already getting sucked into this mood though.
Oh no, really? I feel like I'm
Well,
watching it from above and I'm finding it really like I'm kind of still observing it. I'm not feeling his. I found it funny and I found like I genuinely have laughed at a lot of this first bit. And then I also, because of kind of where he's at mentally with this book, you know what I'm talking about. I think that parts of it are hilarious. I think that that's so funny. I kind of almost like this version of Fitz better. And then I really liked the whole argument discussion of like everyone finally airing their grievances. I thought it was good.
I'm like right in the middle of that. It was really hard to stop reading.
Yeah, and that's a good scene. We lost a
But
Sarah.
yeah, but when Chade was like, "You came back spoiling for a fight," I'm like, "Yeah, because you all like just wanted to slip under the rug what had happened and like be like, oh, so and so apologized, like take it as it is, like."
Are you
So
on Fitz's? Are you on Fitz's side in the argument?
I'm just as enraged about Fitz.
Really? I'm on the opposite. I think I'm with Kate and Burrage. I think I'm on their side.
I mean, what they said was true. Like he was spoiling for a fight in the second book for sure, and like throwing himself in danger of everything. But like, I'm gonna be like stress clenching my jaw reading this.
Yeah, that probably. I wonder if you'll have
No.
like I do wonder if it'll help me not be as depressed because I feel like I read it at like a distance because that's still yeah, that's like my biggest gripe, but also maybe it will be less because I felt like I feel like I lived through the trauma of Daughter of the Forest. Not to go back to that, but I feel like I also because I spent the whole day reading it, I feel like I went on my own silence journey with her, and I did talk to.
Yes,
Yeah, I felt like I was like silent for the entire.
yes. That happens to me every time I read it. When I like put the book down and I like go to speak for the first time, I'm like, like it's. I'm glad other people
Lived it
experience
with
that
her.
'cause I absolutely do. Oh, that's so good.
It
I'm
was.
gonna have to reread that soon.
I'm now in the
I
middle
can't.
of two books though, and I want to start Boy with Fire, so I'm like, I need to finish something and then start.
What else are you reading?
I'm also reading Rain and Ruin,
Oh yeah.
which is also getting really good. I'm 60% in.
What's that about? Excuse me.
It's a fantasy romance, so it is very heavy on the romance, and it's basically, but it also has a really cool political plot. It's got like this wheel of, it's basically like on this magic system of wheels, and each spoke of the wheel is a house with specific like magic affinity. And there was this big like kind of uprising and coup, and when that coup happened, one part of the wheel was like banished and exiled as like this magic is foul and we don't want it here. And so now they're kind of facing threat of another country invading, and they're trying to like bring back that magic, and it's pretty cool. But then there's like they're
Mm,
trying to form alliances, and it's got like a military element to it, and then like the romance simmering underneath.
yeah. Well, let me know how that like sounds like the plot is decent because that's where I feel like I struggled a lot last year. Like I want romance, I want fantasy. You'd think that fantasy romance would be perfect, but I find that the plot often does not satisfy me as much, like in a significant way with fantasy romance books. But then also I've had a lot of the romances have also been really, really hit and miss with me. Like I read a bunch last year, and I don't think that I
Yeah.
loved many of them. And like Fortuna Sworn, which is like
I haven't read that one, but I've heard
pretty
about it a lot. Mhm.
pretty popular fantasy romance, and like I
You
did
didn't
not
like it?
like it. I
Yeah.
read I read two. I read enough to read two of them, and just like some stuff happens that I really didn't like the main character, and then
Yeah,
she
that
was doing
happens a
something
lot.
with the relationship that I was not on board with.
I think
But
you'll like
anyway,
this one, and I think it
yeah.
reminds me a lot of Empire of Sand, not in any way that, like, they're
Mm,
comparable, but it has that same balance of, I think, like, a cool system and politics and, like, world building and romance. So it's a good it almost was more like the beginning of it is a little clunky in terms of they don't explain the magic, they kind of throw you into a lot of terms, and I started it and put it down because I was like, I wanted to pick it up as, like, a palate cleanser, and exactly, like, I
yeah,
wanted more of a romance, and instead I was like, "Here, I'm having to memorize all these magic words and terms and, like, figure out their system," and it almost felt too brain intensive, so now it's, like,
yeah.
less clunky, but if that help like, it leans more, I'd say more into the fantasy and plot than it does the romance.
Okay. Or, excuse me.
You're good. It's kind of late for you. Or very, very early.
Yeah. I just finished The Golem and the Genie.
Ooh,
From Kristen Crave's books, and I just read that together. It was so good. It was
is
really,
it?
really cute.
Heard a
Yeah.
lot about it, but, like, not enough to know what to expect, just that it's good.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't know what to expect either going into it. Um, and like all that I knew was just like the Golem and the Genie meet, turn of the century New York. Like that was it.
And friendship,
Um,
right? I think it's about their friendship. Is that it?
yeah, yeah. Excuse me. It's about but you know what? It had like a lot of other perspectives in it, and we got a lot of other people's stories. And at first it was sort of like, I don't know, Chris and I both like felt like it was really like whimsical, like you were sort of like floating through this
Mm.
world and like getting all of these different perspectives. It wasn't like super, super deep with like character, but it kind of felt like you were just like floating through all of their journeys, and it focused so much on like these two different kind of cultures, like the one with like the
Mhm,
Syrian immigrants and and the genie, and
mhm,
then the golem and the Jewish community that she was in, sort of centered in and around, and you almost focus like more on the cultures as like new immigrants to New York in turn of the century New York.
mm.
It was really interesting.
Sounds
And
good.
like yeah, it was like whimsical fantasy sort of, where it's just like not that the golem and the genie are like accepted as magic to do this, but they are magic to do this.
Is it kind of more not to get into the discussion that we never fully, like, with Sarah that we did, but is it more like fabulism, magic, realism, or is it full fantasy?
It's definitely historical fiction
Okay,
with,
like magic elements. Okay.
yeah, I would say like the ending got a little bit like how things like the conflict towards the end got like specific into the magic, but without like really explaining it. It was just like,
Mhm.
and this happened. It was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, it more reads like a historical fiction where your main characters are these
Magic.
mythological sort of, yeah, creatures.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
but it kind of had like the like whole like humanity thing, like where they both had very different personalities. They both had very different philosophies and perspectives, like on life and on
Ooh,
humanity, but they're both like trying to pass as humans.
I feel like
And
I
they
love
both
that.
have different, yeah, they
Mhm.
both have really different opinions about how much they should be doing that. Like it was really interesting.
Oh, cool. I love
Yeah.
Jin too, so I didn't know. I don't think I've ever read about like a golem, but
No, me either. It was like I didn't know much. I didn't know that it was a Jewish culture thing, so that was
Mhm.
really interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And the weird, like that's the sequel is coming out this summer.
Okay, that's literally a prime example. I thought that was a standalone. There's a sequel? Is it like
Yeah,
a companion book, or is it a there was a cliffhanger where you left off?
there's not a cliffhanger. but it's also not like super neat and tidy. It's more just like
Mm.
open and hopeful kind of an ending.
It took them years
Um,
to do a sequel because I've been hearing about that book for years.
2013,
Wow.
2013. I read an interview about her sort of from her perspective of like how difficult it was to write the second book just
Mhm.
because she like I think she like wrote a couple versions and didn't love them and had to like go back and do it a bunch of times. So
Makes sense.
yeah,
That'd be me as a writer. I would the deadlines would drive me crazy.
yeah. I think you could read it as a standalone and be like, huh, like I think it would like just sit with you. So like now that I know that there's a sequel, I'm intrigued.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call it.
You should go
I'm
sleep.
gonna go to bed. Um, but just for those of you who are still here, don't forget like Assassins in April is going on all week until the end of April 23rd, so midnight on April 23rd. I think we're gonna do another reading sprint on Saturday,
Do a
next
full
Saturday.
beginning and end wrap up. I like it.
Yeah, so we'll post the times for that. I'll post it on the community thing, and then also stay tuned. I will have other reading sprints throughout the week. I'll just kind of post those on the community tab as well. So stay tuned or keep an eye out for those. But thank you to everyone for joining in
I'm
today and for commenting,
excited to see
and
what
Maria
everyone
for you for joining as well.
thinks and likes. Yeah, of course. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Well,
Have a good night,
good
everyone.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.